My name is William Manley. This is my learning teaching project. My drug that I was given was the nitroglycerin transdermal patch. We're going to use a regular Band-Aid as a demo dose for the transdermal patch. My partner Angel is going to act the part of my patient. She's been explained that the regular nitroglycerin patch will be in more of a square shape. So the first thing I'm going to do is assess the effective learning domain with my patient. So could you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 what your level of confidence is in self-administering a nitroglycerin transdermal patch? 1 being no confidence, 10 being total confidence.
1.
A 1 out of 10. So you have no confidence in
None.
self-administering the nitroglycerin transdermal patch.
Aye.
Okay, that's fine. So basically, next we're going to go over the cognitive portion. So I'm just going to explain to you what the nitroglycerin transdermal patch is. This is very serious, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So the way that the nitroglycerin transdermal patch is, there's other ways to dose it, such as sublingually under the tongue. What this does is you're going to put this on a central location, so you don't want to put it on an extremity just because you're not going to absorb the drug correctly. So you're going to put it either on the upper chest, the flank, the upper back. Today we're just going to use the upper chest. And what it does is it's going to slowly administer nitroglycerin over about 12 to 14 hours. And what that nitroglycerin does is, because my partner is a biology major, I can use some clinical language. So it is a vasodilator. So it's going to make your veins and arteries expand. It's going to decrease the preload and afterload on your heart. So if there is an event of angina, it's going to reduce the stress on your heart, and it's going to lower that experience of pain from angina if you're experiencing angina.
Okay.
So then the next step we're going to go over after we've assessed the affective and explained the cognitive, we're going to go over the psychomotor, which is the actual administration of the drug. So first of all, you want to make sure that if you do have a hairy chest, which would be more of an issue for me than you, is that area is trimmed and not shaved. Good. So you don't want to wax either, because that can actually cause irritation to the skin. So if you did have a really hairy chest, you would trim it down so as to not cause irritation.
Okay.
Secondly, you'd want to wash that area with soap and water, not alcohol, because again, it could irritate that skin, which would just give us another host of issues if there's skin irritation at the site. So after you administer this, which we're going to go over in a minute, you want to make sure that you rotate different sites. So again, you don't experience that skin irritation by placing it on the same site over and over again. So switching between spots on the chest, to the back, to the flank are all options depending on how it feels. Additionally, some contraindications to be aware of when you're taking this. You don't want to go under a defibrillator with this, so to make sure people around you know that if you do need to be defibrillated, to take it off, because although this doesn't, the regular nitroglycerin transdermal patch will have aluminum in the back. So if you're defibrillated with that on, it can cause burning and short out the defibrillator, which is bad. Also, you should be aware that if you take erectile dysfunction drugs or other nitrates, it can cause a really big drop in your blood pressure, known as hypotension. Yes. And you can get fainting spells, and I mean, it could even result in death. So avoid that. Drug is really contraindicated just because of the drug-on-drug interactions.
Okay.
So if you could just pull your shirt down a little bit so I could see your collarbone a little bit lower towards your chest. So when you're administering this, you want to make sure you perform hand hygiene, so washing your hands before and after. And then rather than a regular Band-Aid where you might take off the whole thing, again, after cleaning the site, you would want to take your transdermal patch, you'd remove one end of the non-stick coating, you would place it across the chest, and then without touching, you could also use gloves if you wanted. You would roll that out across the chest.
Okay.
Make sure it's pressed down flat. And then again, you would leave that on there for about 12 to 14 hours. When removing it, you'd want to press down in the center to release the sides, and then slowly peel it up. Again, use of gloves can help because then you won't get any nitroglycerin on your hands, and you want to make sure you perform hand hygiene afterwards.
Right.
Now that we've gone through a teaching session, I'm going to reassess. So starting with the effective domain of learning, can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how your level of self-confidence is in self-administering the nitroglycerin transdermal patch?
10.
Out of 10?
Yes.
Okay, so a 10 out of 10. So she's increased in her self-confidence in self-administering the drug. Now I would move on to the cognitive learning domain. Can you explain to me the process of applying a nitroglycerin transdermal patch?
Yes. I wash my hands, put on gloves, take the patch, wash the area I'm applying it to, open up one side, and then roll the patch onto the skin. I want to vary the sites that I put the patches on to reduce inflammation in the area. I always want to make sure that that area is clean and free of hair.
That's good. And can you tell me contraindications that you might have with this drug?
I shouldn't take any erectile dysfunction medication, and if I'm going to be defibrillated, I should tell them the patch needs to be removed, or that I have the patch. That way, the metal doesn't interfere with the defibrillator.
That's great. So now that we've assessed both the cognitive and effective learning domains, and that was a success, she was able to verbalize that she felt more confident, checking off the effective. She was able to verbalize how to administer the medication on her own and the rationale behind it, contraindications. Now we're going to go over the psychomotor learning domain, and she's just going to show me how to apply the demo dose of nitroglycerin. So if you're going to, you could just verbalize putting on gloves, washing your hands, washing the area.
Okay, so first I would put on gloves. I'd wash my hands first, and then I would put on gloves, and then I'm going to wash the area, then I'm going to place it, then I can take my patch.
As long as the Band-Aid doesn't rip, it's okay.
And I'll take it, I'll take off one end without coming into contact, and then I'll place that on my chest, and I will roll it to the other end. After it's on, I can take all of this guard, I'll take my gloves off, I'll throw all of that out, and then I'll wash my hands again.
And then after 12 to 14 hours?
After 12 to 14 hours, when I go to take the patch off, I'll wash my hands, same thing, put on the gloves, take off the patch, discard it with the gloves, wash my hands again. And then the next day, if I decide to put one on, I'll either rotate sites and go through the same thing again with washing my hands.
Good, that's
and
great.
place it on.
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Cool.
All right, thank you. So that covers all three of the learning domains. She was able to verbalize the cognitive and effective learning domains were covered, and then she was able to successfully demonstrate that the psycho learning domain was covered.
And I